I know people always say that graduations are about more than just the diploma. It's about the journey, the people who supported you, the sacrifices, the late nights, the tears, the wins. And for me, all of that was true. I worked my butt off for that stage. I did it almost entirely on my own, scholarships, tutoring jobs, and my mom cheering me on through every breakdown. So when it came time to decide who would get those precious graduation tickets, I knew it was going to cause drama. Here's the hook though, I didn't give one to my stepmom. I gave a ticket to my mom, obviously. One to my grandma, because she's basically my second parent and has been there for me since I was born. And one to my best friend, who helped me survive senior year. My dad. I didn't even know how to handle that one. See, my dad remarried when I was 13. I never asked for a stepmom. I never wanted one. And to be real, she never wanted me either. I still remember the first time Dad introduced her. Her name's Carla. Perfectly styled hair, nails done, always smiling in this way that felt fake. I shook her hand, and she immediately started talking about blended families and fresh starts. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. My mom had only been divorced from my dad for 2 years at that point, and it still hurt. So hearing Carla talk like we were just going to be one big, happy family made me want to scream. It only got worse from there. Carla has this way of making everything about her. Birthdays, holidays, even just normal weekends. She had to have the spotlight. When I turned 16, she planned this huge party without asking me what I wanted. It was catered, decorated, picture perfect, but it didn't feel like mine. She gave a speech about how our family had grown stronger together, and I just wanted to disappear. My dad thought it was sweet. My mom cried in the car afterwards because she felt pushed out. So yeah, by the time graduation rolled around, I knew I didn't want her there. But of course, word got out. It started with my dad texting me, "Hey, we need to talk about graduation tickets." I stared at that message for 10 minutes before replying. I knew exactly what he was going to say. When I finally answered, I wrote. I already gave them out. Mom, Grandma, and my best friend. Not even 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. "You didn't save one for me?" My chest got tight. I typed back, "You can still come to the open house. But the ceremony, I only had 3 tickets." Then he called me. The second I answered, I could hear the edge in his voice. "Why does your friend get to come, but not me? I'm your father." I swallowed hard. "Because she's been there for me every single day this year, Dad. She helped me study. She drove me when I didn't have a ride. He cut me off. "And what about Carla? Do you have any idea how hurt she's going to be?" That's when I snapped. "This isn't about Carla. This is about me. She doesn't get to hijack this too." There was a long silence. Then, in this cold, flat voice, he said, "If she's not welcome, then maybe I'm not either." And that was the moment I realized my graduation might not be a celebration at all. It was about to become a war. When my dad hung up on me, I just sat on my bed staring at the wall. It wasn't even shock. It was this heavy, sinking feeling I've felt before, that he'd always choose her. Carla. Always. I tried to tell myself I didn't care. I told myself, fine, if he wants to miss it, that's on him. But the truth? It stung. Bad. I wanted my dad there. I wanted him to see me walk across that stage. I wanted him to clap and maybe cry a little like all the other dads. I just didn't want her standing next to him, stealing the moment, turning it into some weird family performance. The next day, my grandma called. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I heard there's some trouble about the tickets." I groaned and dropped onto the couch. "Did Dad call you?" "Not exactly." She hesitated. "Carla texted me." My blood boiled instantly. Why would she? I cut myself off, rubbing my temples. What did she say? She said she understands that tickets are limited, but that she feels excluded. That she's been part of your life for years, and it hurts to not be included on such an important day. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Of course she said that. She makes everything about her. Grandma's voice was calm, like it always is, but I could tell she was treading carefully. "Honey, I'm not telling you what to do. It's your day, but you need to be prepared. Your dad feels very strongly about this, and if you stick to your decision, he may not come." I bit the inside of my cheek, so hard it hurt. So what? I have to give up one of my tickets so she can be happy? No, Grandma said firmly. You don't have to do anything. But if you're asking me, I think you should decide what matters more to you, making your stand or having your dad in the audience. Only you know which one you can live with. After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone, angry tears filling my eyes. I hated that it had come to this. I hated that my dad couldn't just show up for me without making it a test of loyalty. Later that night, I got a text from Mom. "Hey, your dad called me. Don't freak out." I immediately freaked out. "What did he say?" "He's upset. He thinks you're punishing him by not including Carla." I told him this isn't about him. He didn't take it well. I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. Why can't he see it's my day? Why does it always have to be about her? Mom didn't answer right away. Then, "Sweetheart, I'll be there no matter what. I'm proud of you. Let him figure himself out." I cried then. Ugly cried. Not because of my mom, she was my rock, but because I realized deep down, I didn't believe my dad would figure it out. 2 days later, he showed up at my house. It was a Saturday morning. I was still in pajamas, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee, when I heard his car pull up. My stomach flipped. When he walked in, he didn't even smile. He had that stiff posture, arms crossed, like he was ready for battle. "We need to talk." I glanced at Mom, who was washing dishes. She looked over her shoulder at me, then gave me this subtle nod. "Handle it." I followed him out to the porch. He wasted no time. "Do you really think it's fair to exclude Carla?" I crossed my arms, mirroring him. "Do you think it's fair for you to make this about her instead of me?" His jaw tightened. "Carla has been in your life for almost 5 years. She's supported you, celebrated your birthdays, helped pay for school clothes." I laughed bitterly. "Yeah, she threw parties I didn't want and took credit for stuff Grandma bought." "That's not fair," he snapped. "She loves you. She considers you her daughter." That made something inside me break. Then why don't I feel like her daughter, Dad? Why do I feel like a prop she parades around? For once, he didn't have a quick response. His face softened for just a second, then hardened again. "Look, I'm not asking you to love her, but I am asking you to show her respect. Not inviting her is disrespectful. It's embarrassing for me." I blinked at him. "So it's about your image." "It's about family," he said flatly. "No," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Family doesn't guilt trip you into giving up your happiness for theirs." The silence between us stretched so long it felt like forever. Finally, he said, "If you don't give her a ticket, then don't expect me to show up either." I stared at him, my chest burning, my eyes blurring with tears. "So that's it? You'd rather skip my graduation than upset her?" He didn't answer. He just turned, walked down the steps, and got in his car. I stood there on the porch, arms wrapped around myself, shaking. And for the first time, I thought, maybe I really would have to walk across that stage without my dad there at all. I didn't sleep the night after my dad's ultimatum. I kept staring at the ceiling until the dark turned gray and the birds started their morning noise. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the stage, the rows of folding chairs, and an empty space where my dad should have been. Then I'd see Carla in a bright dress, smiling too wide, waving like it was her achievement. In my head, both were bad. I couldn't win. By noon the next day, my phone was lighting up like a slot machine. It started with a message from my Aunt Lisa, my dad's sister, who's usually the peacemaker of the family. "Aunt Lisa, hey sweetie, your dad says things are tense. Can we talk?" Before I could answer, a new text came in from my Uncle Mike, the blunt one. "Uncle Mike, your old man is being stubborn, but this is family. Find a way." Then my grandma called again, and her voice had that careful softness she uses when she thinks I'm about to cry. "Sweetheart, I know I already said my piece. I just wanted to remind you, this is your day. But sometimes, the way we protect our day can echo for years. You need to decide what you can live with." "I hear you," I said, my throat tight. "I just don't know what that is yet." There was a pause. "You know," she said gently, "there's a difference between surrender and choosing peace. One is giving up yourself. The other is keeping yourself intact." "I'm trying to figure out which one this would be," I whispered. After we hung up, I went out for a walk because the walls of the house felt smaller every hour. I ended up at the park near the middle school, where the swings squeak even with no one on them. The memories tumbled out of nowhere. 13 years old, knees scabbed, following Dad to a pancake place to meet someone special. Carla had arrived wearing this pastel scarf and expensive perfume that made my head hurt, and when I ordered chocolate chip pancakes, she said, "A girl after my own heart," like we were already secret buddies. Later, in the car, Dad turned the radio up and said, "Wasn't she great?" And I nodded because that was the answer he wanted. It always was. My phone buzzed again. My best friend Mia. "Mia, I'm on your porch with snacks." "I'm calling it." emergency picnic. I headed back, and Mia had spread a blanket on our tiny patch of grass and opened a container of grapes, a bag of kettle chips, and 3 different sparkling waters because she knows I stress drink bubbles. She had on her oversized sweatshirt with a cracked college logo, and this look that says, "I am not leaving until you vent everything." "Okay," she announced, passing me the chips like they were a microphone. "Tell me everything, including your meanest thoughts." "He gave me an ultimatum," I said, plucking a grape and rolling it between my fingers. "Either I invite Carla to the ceremony, or he won't come." Mia made a face like she'd tasted something sour. Classic ultimatum strategy. Demand something impossible so that when you refuse, they declare righteous hurt. "You sound like our psychology textbook." "I'm a scholar when it's needed," she said, then softened. "Do you want him there?" "Yes," I said instantly. Then, after a beat, "But not if the condition is that." It feels like he's asking me to agree that she's just as much my parent as Mom. And she's not. Mia nodded slowly. "So what's the actual worst-case scenario you can tolerate?" "My dad's sitting at home, not coming," I said, and the words felt like gravel in my mouth. "I guess that's it. That he chooses her over me again." She picked at the label on her water bottle, thinking. "Then the real question is whether inviting her now changes that pattern or confirms it. If you cave, does he learn that threats work? If you don't, does he learn that you have boundaries he has to respect?" "I don't know," I said, and the uncertainty had a weight to it. "I just know I'm so tired of her turning my milestones into her stage." Mia squeezed my wrist. "Then maybe this one is the line." We were still sitting there when my cousin Abby texted, a notification that made my stomach drop because Abby is the family newsletter, the one who sees everything everyone posts online. "Abby, I don't want to stir things, but you should see Carla's Facebook." She followed with a screenshot. Carla had posted a photo of a graduation cap with a long caption. "Proud of our girl who is graduating soon. Tickets are limited, but love should never be. Blended families are about inclusion." It hurts when people forget that. Praying for grace and understanding in times like these. The comments were a bonfire. A couple of Carla's friends wrote about disrespectful teens and how the real parents are the ones who show up. My name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't have to be. The shade was precise. My face went hot, and Mia read over my shoulder, her eyebrows rising to the edge of her hairline. "She went public?" "She always does," I said, my voice shaking. "It's like she wants people to pity her into my life." I dialed my mom because I knew she would see the post eventually, and I wanted to be the one to frame it. She picked up on the second ring. "Hi, honey. Did you see the post?" There was a pause. "Yes," she admitted softly. "I did. Don't look at the comments. It will only hurt." "It already hurts," I said. "She's making me into the villain on purpose." Mom sighed. "Your dad left me a voice message this morning. He said it's embarrassing that people are asking why I'm allowing you to exclude Carla. I told him I don't control you, that you're almost an adult and this is your decision." "Allowing?" I repeated, disgust curling in my stomach. "Like I'm a puppet." "I know." Mom's voice went tight. "Everything is language and image with them. Honey, listen. If you want me to return my ticket so your dad will come, I will. I would rather you have him there than me. I can watch from the live stream." The suggestion hit me like a physical thing. I sat back on my heels. No. You're the reason I've kept going. This is your day too." "It's yours," she said fiercely. "But I don't need a chair to be proud. You should be there." I shook my head hard enough to make my ponytail slap my neck. "We're not doing that storyline where you step aside to keep the peace. That is exactly what Carla wants. She wants to be seen as the woman who replaced you. She didn't." Mom was quiet for a long moment. "All right," she said finally. "Then we stand where we stand. And I make a nice potato salad for the open house, and we wear comfortable shoes, and we clap louder than anyone else in that stadium." I laughed, watery. "Deal." Later that afternoon, my school counselor, Ms. Patel, called to go over final details for graduates, arrival time, where we check in, where families sit. She ended by asking if I had any extra ticket needs, and I almost told her the entire saga. I didn't, but she must have heard something in my voice because she said, "Sometimes these big moments bring out old patterns. That doesn't make you responsible for fixing anyone. You just honor your work." "Thank you," I said, breathing a little easier. Of course, that piece lasted approximately 40 minutes. At 5 p.m., my dad sent an email. Not a text. An email with the subject line, Olive Branch. I clicked with dread. I'm trying to meet you halfway. I've secured one additional ticket from a coworker whose son isn't walking. I propose Carla uses that, and I'll sit wherever you want. Back row, no photos if that's truly your wish. But excluding her from the ceremony after all she's done feels punitive. Let's not make a permanent rift over a temporary seating issue. I reread it twice. Secured one additional ticket. I had no idea you could just barter tickets like baseball cards, but apparently the whole city was doing it. I typed a response 3 times and deleted it each time. Nothing sounded right. Everything sounded like I was either conceding or attacking. Mia read it over my shoulder and whistled. He says the quiet part out loud, huh? All she's done. As in what exactly? Bought a decorative chalkboard for my room and called it a remodel, I muttered. Told me to call her something other than Carla because it sounded cold. Tried to switch my weekends with Mom so I could go to her cousin's gender reveal instead of my orchestra concert. That kind of done. Mia cracked open another seltzer. So what are you going to say? I stared at the blinking cursor and finally wrote, Dad, I appreciate the offer, but the ceremony tickets were my decision to allocate. I chose Mom, Grandma, and Mia because they were the people who supported me daily through school. This isn't about punishing anyone. It's about honoring the reality of my support system. You are absolutely welcome to come to the open house afterward. I won't change my mind about the ceremony. He didn't reply for an hour. Then he wrote back one line. Understood. I hope you can live with the fallout. My hands trembled. Fallout. I repeated to Mia, almost laughing, like I chose to stage a storm. People who create storms always call the thunder fallout, Mia said, rolling her eyes. It's never their choices, always physics. That night, after dinner, Mom and I sat on the living room floor with folded maps of the arena and a Sharpie, circling where we'd tell Grandma to aim for when she arrived because she likes aisle seats. It felt almost normal, like we were planning a movie night or a picnic. I could breathe. Then the doorbell rang. Mom and I looked at each other. We weren't expecting anyone. She stood up slowly, wiped her hands on her jeans, and went to the door. Through the beveled glass, I saw a blur of color, a floral dress, and my heart plummeted. Mom opened the door, but only a fraction. Carla stood on the porch holding a gift bag with metallic tissue paper. She wore a peony-patterned dress and that smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hi, she said brightly, as if this were the most normal thing in the world. I brought a little something for our graduate. Mom didn't move. This isn't a good time. I won't stay long, Carla said, taking a tentative half step like she expected the door to magically widen. I just wanted to clear the air. I don't like tension. Behind Mom, I stood up. I didn't want them to talk without me there. What air? I asked, coming closer. The air you filled with your post? She blinked, an innocent flutter. Oh, that wasn't about you personally. It was about blended families in general. You know, the concept. It's what I do. I advocate. People follow me because I talk about grace and modern family structures. Mia, who had picked up her stuff to leave out the back, froze and shot me a look like, do you want me to stay? I looked back with a tiny nod, and she sank onto the arm of the couch silently. Carla, I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. You don't get to advocate about my life to your friends. If you wanted to clear the air, you could have texted me directly, not posted a riddle that paints me as unkind. Carla's smile wobbled at the edges. I think you're misunderstanding my intention. I love you. I have always tried to be there for you. And it's hurtful, very hurtful, to be told I'm not allowed to watch you walk because of a number on a ticket. There were 3 tickets, I said. I gave them to the 3 people who helped me the most. That's all. That's not true, she said, and her eyes flickered with quick heat. Your father and I paid for your SAT class. I opened my mouth, then closed it. That was true. They had paid for the SAT class the school counselor recommended, the one I had begged for but felt guilty about because money was a thing in all our houses. Still, it was a single check in 4 years. And I said thank you. I replied softer. I'm grateful for that. But support is more than writing a check. It's not showing up and needing to be the son. Mom's hand tightened on the door. Carla glanced at her, then back at me, reading the room. Her voice dropped into that confessional tone she uses when she's about to make a final play. I'm trying here. I even got a ticket so your dad and I wouldn't take one from anyone else. The sentence hung in the air like a misfired firework. You what? I asked. She lifted the gift bag a little, a reflex, then lowered it. A friend of mine's niece isn't attending. She offered her ticket. So, it's not. We're not stealing space. She gave a little laugh that was supposed to be light. You see? Solutions. My mouth went dry. The arena staff would skin tickets. They didn't care whose name was on them. They only cared that the number of people matched the number of barcodes. Technically, she could get in. And once she was in, what would stop her from doing exactly what I feared? Waving, calling my name, insisting on photos by the banner? So you decided to come anyway, I said, each word a hallway I was walking down without a map. Even after I said I don't want you at the ceremony. Her smile snapped back into place, but sharper. I decided not to let hurt keep me from supporting you. That's not support, I said quietly. That's entitlement dressed as love. Carla's eyes glittered. You are being unkind. And you are turning this into a performance, Mom said, finally. Her voice never rose, but it carried in that still way grandmas does. Our daughter made a boundary. You're walking over it in high heels. Carla exhaled, annoyed that the script wasn't going the way she wrote it. Fine, she said briskly, thrusting the bag into Mom's hands. At least take this. She turned to me, softening again, like she could pivot the scene by sheer will. It's for you. Something special. We'll see you at the ceremony, all right? We'll keep to ourselves. We just want to be there. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My thoughts were loud enough to block language. Mom closed the door slowly, like she was lowering a barrier in a storm. Through the glass, we watched Carla walk down the steps, her phone already in her hand, thumbs moving. Posting. Mia let out the breath she'd been holding. If she had a ticket before, she definitely thinks she's in now. Mom set the bag on the table like it might have a snake inside. We stood around it, silent. Finally, I pulled out the tissue paper. Inside was a white satin sash, the kind people wear at bridal showers, embroidered in gold script. Bonus, Mom. Under it, a card with a watercolor bouquet and a message in careful cursive. I'm so proud of you. I have a ticket. I'll be there, whether you like it or not, because love shows up. See, my stomach lurched. Mia's eyes went wide. Mom pressed her fingers to her mouth, like she was swallowing years of words. I walked to the kitchen sink and turned on the faucet for the noise, my breath coming short. It wasn't just that she'd bought or traded her way into the ceremony. It was that she was telling me plainly, your boundary is a suggestion. Your day is an opportunity. My phone buzzed again, a text from Abby. Abby, heads up. Carla just posted a flat lay of a white sash and wrote, no matter what, I'll be cheering today's grads. Love always shows up. Comments are cheering her on. I laughed, a broken little sound. Of course she did. I could already imagine the comments. Hearts, proud mama, bonus mom life. People who didn't know me telling her she was a hero. I wanted to hurl the sash into the trash, but Mom put a gentle hand on mine. Don't give her the image of you throwing it away, she murmured. That's a photo waiting to happen. So what do? I asked, voice tight. We stick to our plan, she said, though her eyes were glossy. We go early. We sit where we planned. We leave with who we planned. Mia cleared her throat. Or, she said carefully, we tell the ushers there's a situation and ask if they can seat certain enthusiastic fans far from you. I can get there even earlier and scout. I'm small. I can slip past anyone. I nodded mechanically. The floor felt tilted, the world off kilter. I thought of Ms. Patel's voice. Honor your work. It sounded thin next to Carla's. I have a ticket. I'll be there whether you like it or not. I had one thought left that cut through the noise like a bell. I grabbed my phone and typed a message to my dad. Did you know Carla got a ticket and is planning to come anyway? A moment, too. Then his reply. She told me she had a way to be there. I think it's a good compromise. She won't intrude. I stared at the words until they blurred. There it was, plain as print. He wasn't coming to meet me where I stood. He was moving the tape and telling me I'd never marked the floor. I put the phone down, my hands trembling. He knew. I said to Mom and Mia. He knew, and he's calling it compromise. Mia squeezed my shoulder, her voice low. Then we set our own plan. He doesn't get to redefine your boundary after the fact. I nodded, swallowing hard. Okay, we set a plan. I didn't say what else I was thinking. That sometimes, to keep a boundary real, you have to be willing to do something you never wanted to do. The next afternoon, the day before graduation, a plain white envelope slid through our mail slot. No stamp. No return address. Inside, folded once, was a printed seating map of the arena with a row circled in red and two names scribbled in pen above it. Tom plus Carla. Underneath, a single sentence. See you tomorrow. Let's get a family photo after. I stood there, the paper shaking in my hands, and realized the plan I was forming would change everything, because it meant my dad might not just miss the ceremony. He might lose me. That envelope sat on the kitchen table like it was radioactive. None of us touched it after I pulled the map out. Mom kept glancing at it, lips pressed tight. Mia paced in small circles like she was rehearsing for a role in a play she didn't want. I just sat there, fingers drumming against my knee, my chest buzzing like I'd swallowed static. Okay, Mia finally said, stopping mid-pace. This is Psycho. Who prints a seating map and writes their names like it's assigned seating? This isn't a wedding. This is high school bleachers. It's a claim, Mom said quietly, like planting a flag. I looked at the red circle again. Row D, section 104. Pretty close to the floor, front and center. She hadn't gotten just any seat. She'd gotten the seats, the kind where my face would be visible when I walked across. It was so intentional it made my stomach roll. She's daring you, Mia muttered. She wants you to react. To either fold and accept it or fight her in public. Both give her a story to post. I rubbed my temples, the beginnings of a headache pressing. So what do? Pretend I don't care? Just walk across the stage like she's invisible? You could ask the school to move her, Mom suggested, though her voice was heavy with doubt. Ushers are there for order. Mia shook her head. She'll turn that into martyr content. Kicked out by my stepchild, but still proud. She'll get 50 comments calling her a saint. The three of us sat in silence, the envelope between us like a fourth presence. I thought about all the years of birthday speeches, holiday takeovers, photo ops where she'd pull me close and caption it, "My girl." And I thought about the card in the bag last night. I'll be there, whether you like it or not. I pushed my chair back, so suddenly it scraped. No, I'm not letting her steal this too. If she wants a story, I'll write the ending. Mom frowned. What do you mean? I mean we control the day, I said, words coming fast now. We go early. We sit Grandma on the aisle where I can see her face when I walk. We leave right after the recessional, no stopping for photos by the balloons or the banners. Straight out to the car, straight home to the open house. She doesn't get the scene she wants. Mia snapped her fingers. Yes, exit strategy. In and out. Mom didn't look convinced. She'll still be there. You'll still see her. Then I don't look, I said, my jaw set. I look at you. At Grandma. At Mia. At the people who actually showed up for me. The conviction felt good, solid. But underneath it was something sharper, an edge I hadn't named yet. Because the truth was, I wasn't sure I could walk across that stage without looking for him, my dad, and seeing him beside her, cheering like everything was fine. The morning of graduation, the house was a blur of curling irons, hairspray, and bobby pins that vanished into the carpet like they were alive. Grandma showed up in her navy dress and sensible shoes, carrying a tote bag full of snacks, in case it runs long. Mom fussed over my gown, smoothing the wrinkles, while Mia took 100 candid photos on her phone. You look like an academic sorcerer, Mia announced, snapping a shot of me in the mirror. I laughed, but it came out shaky. My stomach was a knot. The drive to the arena was quiet, everyone lost in their own thoughts. As we pulled into the parking lot, I spotted Carla's car 2 rows over, gleaming like it had just rolled off the lot. My chest tightened. I turned my face to the window and pretended I didn't see it. Inside, the graduates were herded into a separate staging area while families found their seats. I hugged Mom and Grandma tight, handed Mia my phone, and whispered, "If anything happens, text me." She saluted like a soldier and melted into the crowd. In the holding area, surrounded by classmates buzzing with nerves, I felt like I was underwater. My name would be called. I'd walk. I'd shake hands. And somewhere in that blur, I'd have to hold my head high knowing she was watching. They were watching. My phone buzzed in my gown pocket. A text from Mia. Section 104. They're here. Front row. She's wearing neon pink. You can't miss her. I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to cry. My dad always wore muted colors. Blues, grays, olive greens. Carla was neon pink. Loud, impossible to ignore. Of course she was. Another buzz. They brought a sign. It says, "We love you," with glitter letters. My vision swam. A sign. Glitter letters. She'd turned it into a spectacle, like I was some reality show contestant instead of her stepkid. When our row finally stood to file toward the stage, I focused on the floor. One step, another. My palms slick against the diploma cover they handed me. The air thick with cheers, camera flashes popping. Then my name boomed over the speakers. Name, with honors. The crowd erupted, and I looked up, just for a second, just enough to anchor myself. And there she was. Neon pink dress, arms waving, glitter sign flashing under the stadium lights. And next to her, my dad. Smiling, clapping, like nothing was wrong. For a split second, I froze. My eyes met his. He looked proud, I'll give him that. But he also looked complicit. Like this was the compromise. Like my discomfort was a small price for the family photo op they'd decided would happen. I forced my eyes away. Found Grandma, hands clasped under her chin, tears streaming down her cheeks. Found Mom, clapping so hard her ring hit her knuckle. Found Mia, standing on her chair, screaming my name with zero shame. That was my anchor. I smiled at them. I walked. I shook the principal's hand. Cameras flashed, and I knew Carla's sign would be in half the photos, but I didn't care in that moment. Because I wasn't smiling at her. I wasn't smiling at him. I was smiling at the people who carried me here. After the recessional, the plan went into action. I hugged a couple classmates, then grabbed Mom's hand and said, "We leave now." We wove through the crowd like fugitives, Grandma keeping pace surprisingly well for her age. We almost made it to the parking lot when I heard it. "Sweetie, wait." I turned, and there they were. Dad and Carla, pushing through the throng. Carla holding her glitter sign like a trophy. "Let's get a picture," she called, breathless but grinning. All of us together. People were turning, watching, the word picture drawing phones like moths. I felt my throat close. This was it. The showdown. Mom touched my elbow. "We don't have to," she murmured. Carla was closing the distance fast, neon dress like a beacon. Dad right behind her, expression tight but expectant. Mia appeared at my side out of nowhere, slipping me my phone. "Say the word," she whispered. And that's when I realized they weren't asking for a photo. They were demanding a narrative. And I had one choice left. I lifted my chin, heart pounding, and said loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "No." Carla froze mid-step, the smile faltering. Dad blinked, stunned. I turned, grabbed Mom's hand again, and walked toward the car. Behind me, I heard Carla's voice crack like glass. "You'll regret this." But I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. Because for the first time in years, I felt like the day was mine. The ride home was silent except for the sound of the air conditioner wheezing against the June heat. I sat in the back seat with my cap still pinned awkwardly on my head, staring out the window while my stomach buzzed with adrenaline. My heart was still racing from saying it. One word, sharp and final. No. Mom kept one hand on the steering wheel and one hand clenched on her thigh. Grandma hummed softly, almost like she was trying to drown out the memory of Carla's voice. Mia scrolled furiously on her phone, thumbs moving like she was defusing a bomb. Finally, I said it out loud, because the silence was suffocating. I told them no, in front of everyone. Mom's eyes flicked to me in the rearview mirror. "You were clear. That was your boundary. I'm proud of you." "I feel sick," I admitted, pressing my forehead to the glass. "That's because you stood your ground against people who never wanted you to have one," Grandma said, her voice steadier than I expected. Mia cleared her throat. I don't want to panic anyone, but Carla just posted." "Of course she did." I squeezed my eyes shut. "What did she say?" Mia hesitated. She put up a picture of the sign, you know, the glitter one. Caption, "We showed up with love, but sometimes love isn't welcomed. Bonus moms know the pain of rejection, but we keep cheering anyway. Hashtag bonus mom life. Hashtag love always wins." My stomach twisted. So now I'm the villain in neon pink letters. Mom's jaw tightened. She can post whatever story she wants. We know the truth. But the truth felt smaller when the internet was already telling another version. I pictured her friends flooding the comments, hearts and prayer emojis, strangers telling her how strong she was. And somewhere in the middle of that, my dad scrolling, nodding along, convincing himself this was noble. When we got home, the open house was already buzzing. Balloons tied to the mailbox, the smell of potato salad and barbecue drifting from the backyard. Neighbors, cousins, old teachers. It should have been a celebration. And for the first half hour, it was. People hugged me, clapped my back, asked about my college plans. Grandma showed off my honor cords like they were Olympic medals. Mia played photographer, snapping candids and shoving cookies in my hand when I forgot to eat. But every time I laughed, I felt a shadow at the edge of it. Every time someone said, "Congratulations," I braced for the sound of my dad's car in the driveway. It came around 6 o'clock. I was in the backyard, holding a paper plate of watermelon, when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. The air seemed to shift. Conversations paused, then picked back up in the strained way people do when they're pretending nothing's happening. Through the sliding glass door, I saw him. My dad. He walked in like he owned the space, a store-bought gift bag dangling from his hand. Carla wasn't with him. At least, not yet. My chest tightened. I put the plate down, wiped my palms on my gown. Mom was already moving toward the door, her smile polite but stiff. "Tom," she said evenly, "you made it." "Of course I made it," he said, kissing her cheek like it was any other day. His eyes scanned the room until they found me. "Hey, graduate." I stood frozen, watermelon juice sticky on my fingers. "Hi." He walked over, pulled me into a hug before I could decide if I wanted it. His cologne was sharp, the same kind he's always worn. For a second, I was 13 again, riding in his car after soccer practice, windows down, music blasting. Then I remembered the pink dress and the glitter sign, and the memory snapped in half. "I'm proud of you," he said in my ear. So proud. When he pulled back, his smile was bright, almost too bright. "Carla's just parking. She'll be in soon." My stomach dropped. "You brought her here?" He frowned like I'd just spoken another language. "Of course I did. She wanted to celebrate you too." Mom stepped closer, her voice low but firm. "Tom, we agreed this was not her space." His smile thinned. "We agreed nothing. She's part of the family. She deserves to be here." "Not if she wasn't invited," I said, my voice shaking but loud enough for the nearest relatives to hear. Heads turned. The air grew heavier. The door opened, and there she was. Carla, still in the neon pink dress, still glowing from the attention, holding a tray of cupcakes with plastic graduation caps on top. She beamed as if we'd been waiting for her entrance all day. "Surprise," she chirped. "I brought sweets for our girl." The room went quiet. Even the little kids stopped running. She set the tray down on the counter like it was a crown and turned to me, arms wide. "Come here, sweetheart. Let's get a picture." Every muscle in my body locked. I could feel everyone watching, waiting to see if I'd cave. "No," I said again. The word felt heavier this time, weighted with all the eyes on me. Carla's smile faltered. "Don't be silly. It's just a picture." "It's never just a picture," I snapped, louder than I meant to. My voice cracked through the room like thunder. "It's you trying to prove something that isn't real. You're not my mom. You're not the reason I'm here. And you don't get to pretend you are." The silence that followed was deafening. I saw her face crumple, eyes glassy, but behind it I swore I saw something else. Anger, sharp and hot. My dad's voice cut through, low and dangerous. "Enough. You don't speak to her like that." I spun toward him, my vision swimming. "Then how am I supposed to speak, Dad? How am I supposed to act while she keeps stealing my life, and you keep letting her?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. The room was so quiet I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Carla whispered, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to love you." Something in me snapped. "No, you wanted to own me." And then she cried. Loud, gasping sobs into her hands, mascara streaking down her cheeks. People rushed to comfort her, my aunts, my cousins, while my dad glared at me like I was the monster. I stood frozen, humiliated, my graduation party collapsing around me. And then Grandma's voice rang out, steady and strong. "That's enough." Everyone froze. She walked to the center of the room, her tote bag still slung over her shoulder, her chin high. She looked at my dad, then at Carla. "This day is not about you," she said clearly. "It's about my granddaughter. You've made your point, over and over, and we're finished with it. Leave." Carla's sobs hiccuped into silence. She stared at Grandma, stunned. My dad looked like he'd been slapped. "Leave," he repeated. "Yes," Grandma said firmly. "Leave. Both of you." The room buzzed with whispers, but nobody moved to argue. My dad's face reddened, his jaw working, but after a long moment, he grabbed Carla's arm and steered her toward the door. She went limp, cupcake tray still on the counter like evidence of her intrusion. As the door closed behind them, the silence was deafening. And then, one by one, people clapped. It started with Mia, then my cousin Abby, then half the room, until it was a ripple of applause. My chest cracked open, relief and grief and something like victory all tangled together. But even as I smiled weakly at my guests, I knew this wasn't over. Because my dad had left with her, and I didn't know if he'd ever come back. The morning after my open house felt like waking up in the middle of a storm that hadn't decided if it was done yet. The house was quiet, the leftover decorations drooping in the living room. My phone sat on the nightstand buzzing every few minutes. Notifications, texts, missed calls. When I finally worked up the courage to look, the group chat with my dad's side of the family had exploded. Aunt Lisa, I just don't understand why it had to be so dramatic. Uncle Mike, kids allowed to set boundaries. Respect them. Abby, and GL, Grandma was iconic. Dad, boundaries don't mean cruelty. That display was humiliating for Carla. I closed the chat before I threw the phone across the room. Scrolling through social media was worse. Carla had posted a picture of the cupcake tray with half the cupcakes untouched. The caption, "Sometimes the sweetest gestures are rejected, but love still bakes." There were already dozens of comments. "You're amazing. She'll appreciate you one day. Keep showing up." My throat tightened. "She'll appreciate you one day." Like I was some ungrateful brat who couldn't see the angel in front of me. Mom knocked on my door gently before coming in with a cup of tea. "You don't have to look at that garbage," she said softly. "I can't not," I muttered. "She's rewriting everything. And people believe her." Mom sat on the edge of my bed, brushing my hair off my face like she used to when I was little. "People will believe whatever story fits their idea of the world. You can't stop that. What you can do is decide what story you're going to live." Her words should have comforted me, but instead they pressed heavy on my chest. Because my story felt fractured, split between the version where I stood up for myself and the version where I'd just burned my last bridge with my dad. By Monday, the phone call started. First Aunt Lisa, her voice soft like she was tiptoeing across broken glass. "Sweetheart, your dad is really hurt. He feels like you embarrassed him in front of the whole family." "He embarrassed himself," I said flatly. I know, but he's stubborn. And Carla's making him feel like he has to pick sides. I'm just asking, maybe give him an opening to talk, before this gets permanent?" Permanent. The word lodged in my chest like a stone. Then Uncle Mike called, but he wasn't gentle at all. "Listen, kid, you drew a line. Good for you. But don't expect your dad to just magically respect it after all these years. He's been letting her run the show since day one. He's not going to stop now. So what am I supposed to do? Just keep letting them bulldoze me?" "No," he said firmly. "You keep your line, but you prepare yourself. Because the cost might be that he walks." By Tuesday, the fallout went public in a way I wasn't prepared for. Carla uploaded a photo carousel, a shot of her holding the glitter sign, a blurry picture of me walking across the stage, taken from a distance, and finally a selfie of her and my dad sitting in the car, her mascara smudged, his arm around her shoulders. Caption: "Pride and pain can exist in the same moment." We showed up with open hearts, but sometimes hearts aren't ready to receive. Still, family is family. Always. The comments section turned into a battleground. Strangers praising her. Some cousins defending me. Distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years chiming in with. "So sad to see kids treat their parents this way." I wanted to scream. She wasn't my parent. She never had been. Mia came over that night with a tub of ice cream and 2 spoons. She scrolled through the post, shaking her head. "She's running a PR campaign." "It's working," I whispered. "Everyone thinks I'm a monster." "No," Mia said sharply, dropping her spoon. "Listen to me. People who actually know you, like really know you, aren't buying it. Your grandma, your mom, me, the ones who matter." "But what about my dad?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. "He's buying it. He's sold on it. And if he believes her version of me," my voice cracked, "then he's never going to see me for who I really am." Mia's expression softened, but she didn't argue. She didn't tell me he'd come around. She just squeezed my hand. The next day, he called. Not a text, not an email, an actual call. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello." His voice was low, tired. "We need to talk." "About what?" "You know what," he said. "What happened at your party?" I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. "What happened was Carla tried to hijack my day, and you let her." He exhaled sharply. "It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I shot back. She brought props, Dad. A sign. Cupcakes. A sash that literally said, bonus mom. And you just stood there like it was normal. She was trying, he said, his voice rising. She was trying to show love. I laughed bitterly. Her kind of love feels like theft. Silence. Then, quietly. Do you even want me in your life anymore? The question sliced through me. My throat tightened, my eyes stung. I wanted to scream yes, but not like this. I wanted to tell him I needed him to choose me, just once. But the word stuck. I don't know, I whispered. He was quiet for a long time. Then, maybe you should think about that. And he hung up. I sat there staring at the call screen, my whole body shaking. Mom knocked gently. What did he say? I turned to her, my voice barely holding together. He asked if I want him in my life. Mom's face crumpled, and she pulled me into a hug. Sweetheart. I buried my face in her shoulder, sobbing. Because for the first time, I realized he might actually mean it. He might really walk away. And I didn't know if I had the strength to stop him. I didn't go to school the next day. Technically, graduation meant I didn't have to. But even if I had, I wouldn't have made it through the doors. My eyes were swollen from crying, my head ached, and every time I closed my eyes, I heard my dad's voice. Do you even want me in your life anymore? It wasn't just a question. It was a trap. Because if I said yes, it meant accepting Carla as the permanent ticket price. If I said no, it meant cutting the cord completely. I sat at the kitchen table all morning, staring at my untouched bowl of cereal until it turned into a mushy soup. Mom hovered nearby, trying not to hover too much. Grandma called to check in, her voice steady but carrying that edge of worry I'd started to recognize. Mia texted from work every hour. How's your brain? Drink water. If you read the comments, I'll revoke your Wi-Fi. I didn't answer her, because she was right. I'd read the comments. Carla had posted again. This time it was a close-up selfie, her mascara carefully cleaned up, her hair styled into soft waves. She was holding a mug that said #1 bonus mom in glitter letters. The caption, some roles we choose, some roles choose us. Being a bonus mom is the greatest blessing, even when it's hard. I'll never stop showing up. Love is unconditional. Unconditional. That word lodged in my chest like a rock. Because love isn't supposed to be conditional, but hers always was. I love you if you let me center myself. I love you if you play along with my narrative. I love you if it makes me look good online. And Dad? His love was starting to feel conditional too. By Thursday, the phone calls shifted from relatives to family friends. Mrs. Jensen, who used to babysit me when I was little, called to say she'd heard about the incident and wanted me to remember how much my dad loves me. Mr. Lopez, our old neighbor, left a voicemail about how family is messy, but forgiveness is everything. Forgiveness. Another word people loved to throw around when they weren't the ones being trampled. That night, Grandma came over for dinner. Afterward, she and Mom talked in the kitchen while I sat on the porch with Mia, who had dropped by after work still wearing her uniform polo. She sprawled on the porch swing with a soda, watching me like she was waiting for me to crack. Okay, she said finally. Tell me what you're thinking, no filters. I pulled at a loose thread on my jeans. I'm thinking, what if I say no? What if I decide I don't want him in my life anymore? Mia nodded slowly. And what does that look like to you? It looks like peace, I said, surprising myself. Not having to brace for Carla's next post. Not having to argue about tickets and photos and who gets to own my achievements. Just quiet. But, she prompted. But it also looks like no dad. Ever. No texts on my birthday. No one walking me down the aisle someday. No one to call when my car breaks down. Just gone. Mia sipped her soda. So the question is the quiet worth the whole? I swallowed hard. I don't know. The decision felt impossible. And then Carla escalated. Friday morning, Abby texted me another screenshot. Carla had gone live on Facebook. I didn't want to watch it, but curiosity clawed at me until I did. She sat in her living room, the glitter sign propped behind her, her mug in her hands. Her voice was soft, trembly. I wasn't going to talk about this, she began, eyes shiny, but my heart is heavy. Graduation should be a time of unity, a time of love. And yet, sometimes, stepmoms are pushed aside, forgotten, made to feel like intruders in the very families we pour ourselves into. The comments flew up the screen. We see you. You're amazing. Step-parents never get the credit they deserve. Carla sniffled delicately. I won't name names. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. About how hard it is to love kids who sometimes don't know how to accept it. But I'll keep loving. Because that's what moms, bonus or otherwise, do. I slammed my laptop shut so hard the sound echoed. Unbelievable, I muttered, shaking. Mom rushed in from the kitchen. What happened? She went live? I choked out. She told the entire internet I don't know how to accept love. That's her new story. That I'm broken. Mom's face darkened. But before she could speak, my phone buzzed with a new text. Dad, saw Carla's live. I know you don't like her, but you should really think about what she said. Maybe there's truth in it. My vision blurred with tears. Truth. He thought there was truth in it. That night, lying in bed, I replayed every moment of the past week. The call, the cupcakes, the glitter sign, the sobs, the Facebook lives, and my dad, always standing beside her, nodding, co-signing, telling me to bend. And I realized the hole I was afraid of already existed. He wasn't my dad anymore. Not really. Saturday morning, Grandma called again. I've been thinking, she said. You can't control their story, but you can write your own. What do you mean? I asked, my voice hoarse from crying. Carla goes live. She posts. She spins her tale. Fine, but you don't have to sit silent. If you want people to hear your truth, you tell it. Out loud. On your terms. The thought made my stomach flip. Going public? Sharing my side? That wasn't me. I hated drama. I hated attention. But hadn't I already been dragged into it? I looked at the pile of graduation cards on my dresser. At the sash in the trash, still peeking out from under tissue paper. At my phone, buzzing with another notification I didn't open. Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe the only way out was through. That night, I opened my notes app and typed. This is my graduation story. Not the one you saw online. The real one. I didn't know if I had the courage to post it. But I knew this. If I stayed silent, Carla's version would be the only one anyone remembered. And I wasn't sure I could live with that. I stared at the draft in my notes app for hours. My thumb hovered over post, like it weighed 50 pounds. Every word I'd written was raw. About my mom, my grandma, Mia, about Dad's ultimatum and Carla's glitter circus. It felt like putting my diary on display. Finally, I hit post. Within minutes, my phone blew up. Friends commented hearts. Classmates messaged me like, oh my gosh, I noticed the sign. I thought it was weird too. Even some relatives chimed in. We're proud of you for speaking up. But then came Dad's text. You didn't need to make this public. You've embarrassed me and Carla again. My hands shook as I typed back. You embarrassed yourself. I just stopped covering for you. The silence after that text was worse than the arguing. Hours passed. Then a full day. No calls. No messages. Just nothing. Carla posted again. Of course she did. But this time her words were sharper. Sometimes children lash out because they're hurting. I'll keep praying for healing and for the strength to keep showing up. I almost laughed. She wasn't showing up. She was showing off. When Grandma came by with leftover potato salad, she hugged me tighter than usual. Sweetheart, I know it feels like you've lost him, but what you've really done is shown him the line. Whether he ever respects it is on him now. I wanted to believe her. But deep down, I knew Dad had already chosen his side. And it wasn't mine. A week later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. From Dad. I love you, but I can't do this anymore. Carla is my wife. She's part of me. If you can't accept her, you're rejecting me too. When you're ready to be part of our family, call me. I read it 3 times, then folded it neatly and set it on my dresser. My chest hurt, but there was clarity in it. He'd made his choice. That night, Mom, Grandma, Mia, and I sat in the backyard under string lights, eating leftover cake. They laughed, clapped when I told dumb stories, toasted me with soda cans. For the first time, I didn't feel like something was missing. Because maybe family isn't who demands a ticket to your life. Maybe it's who shows up without conditions. And I finally knew which one I wanted.